What is a YouTuber to do when content basically falls into their lap when they're in the middle of a move they don't want to do? Well, apparently in my case, it is sit on the floor with the remaining equipment that isn't packed, with a tripod that refuses to hold the camera straight, run a microphone to the computer and do the trendy thing and talk about it. Hopefully this will at least be funny. So yeah, as you may be aware, my husband and I are having to move because the landlords want to sell this place, and we're oh so courteous to give us 88 days notice instead of the 60 that's required by the state of California. Me being the anxious little creature I am, I want to get this over with. We live in the Bay Area. There is a housing shortage, so finding a place is kind of scary. To give you a sense of the scale here, since September 2nd, I have looked at roughly 80 places on Zillow, contacted probably 70 of them with questions or asking to schedule viewings, heard back from the majority of them, scheduled viewings at a lot of them, gone to the viewings and applied at some of them, and got accepted at one. One took our application as longtime good renters. Finding a place is scary, a lot of work. Like, I have no idea how somebody's supposed to do this if they're working full time and can't just take off time from work like my husband and I have been able to just do this. So this is a perfect combination of factors for scammers to take advantage of people desperate for housing. I know I have some younger viewers of this channel, so like young adult, older teenager. So I'm hoping that this really whack-ass experience that I went through will be a teachable, learnable experience so you don't end up getting scammed yourself. The only thing I was really scammed of was my time. They also have my email and phone number, so potentially they could do nefarious things with those, but I'm fine. Don't worry about me. So how did I find my scammer? Well, historically, when I was trying to find a place to rent, I would Google apartment complexes in city and see what was there, call around, just do it the sort of old-fashioned way. But I have also found Craigslist, or the local equivalent of Craigslist, to sometimes be useful, at least in the days before Zillow. And so I also looked at Craigslist this time. With the advent of Zillow, I think Craigslist for finding housing is probably not a good idea, and that was probably red flag number one in this whole process for me. So on Craigslist, I find this post about a townhome for rent, and it's in our price point. That's cool. It's a townhome, so it's got some space. It's got some of the things we want. Cool, cool, cool. So oh no. Homeboy knocked over my water. So I send the inquiry questions to the little Craigslist email thing, and hear back from them. The scanner managed to dodge red flag number one, or at least something that trips a little suspicion in my brain, is when a place posts without an address. That's suspicious, especially if they only give you one or two pictures. But there were tons of pictures. There was a 3D tour even. That was cool. And so she bought herself some credibility that way. So after a little bit back and forth through the Craigslist thing, we exchange proper emails and we begin the story proper. First email from the scammer. Hello, please respond to the following questions. We'll further send you a detailed email containing the landlord's requirements and process of application. Do you have a good rental profile? How many occupants? Do you smoke? Thanks, realtor. So these are relatively standard questions, so no red flags there. Although an interesting one that was again yellow flag is in her footer, there is a ping. It's an image. It doesn't link to anything. It's just an image, but it's got her name and the realtor firm that she works with. Realtor firm exists, so I think, okay, maybe she's kind of old and doesn't really know how footers work. But this is So my response: hi. Good rental profile. Yes, most damage we've done is from cats bending blinds. Rents are on time and never received a complaint. Our current landlord is on my shit list. Contact info. We have rented from her and her husband for a little under 2 years. I can dig up previous rental company details for you if you'd like. Occupants. 2 adults, 2 cats, one of which is taking full advantage of things being packed. No smoking. So next email from her. Hello, thank you for the information. Just wanted you to know that there will not be an in-person showing of this property. We have an occupant living on the property who has expressed concern about being overly stressed from previous showings and requested days off. House is currently subjected to interiors. The house is currently subjected to interior inspection until September 25th. If you and your husband are still interested, you can use our 3D link to review the present condition of this property. Applicants are to subject the necessary pre-qual info to easily review and make the entire renting process more efficient. Below is a landlord's requirement: a copy of a valid form of identification, proof of income, 2 previous pay stubs, most recent bank statement, residential history, rental references, contact info, and each adult resident must fill out a separate rental application. Thank you. Now, I know all of that information sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but actually it's kind of standard for this area from what I've seen. Like, they want the bank info to know that you are in fact getting paid how much you are and that you're not spending money unnecessarily. I mean, yes, it's entirely dystopian and everything that this is part of the process, but also, Adobe, at least the full pro version, has a redaction feature. So you can redact the bank account number, like you can just redact things and then they can't get it off the file. So it does make this process a little bit less sketch. So again, like the stuff she's asking for at this point, not really tripping any red flags. It's not stuff I give out until we are well into the process, but still, the thing that initially was like, oh, that's so nice, but then thought about it and like, oh no, that's so awful, is no tour. No tour of the property. Tip: do not send money until you've seen the property in person. Because I have been in properties where they do tours before you moved out, and I hate it. It sucks. It sucks. It's awkward as shit because, you know, I'm already an awkward person. So then it's like, okay, do I just pretend like they're not walking through? Do I like fuck off and disappear? What do I do? It's not clear to me what the expectations are, and nobody ever tells me, which makes it worse. So, yeah, like I totally bought that line, hook, line, and sinker. But in retrospect, like, yeah, no, that was sus. Our initial pass of the virtual tour was cool because I guess it's a thing now where you have this little camera thing and it does a scan of the room, and then you put it in a different room and whoop, and then you have like a virtual tour you can go on in the house, and it's pretty cool. There's a wrinkle detail on that tour that we'll get to in a little bit though. So my response: we took the virtual tour and it looks great. I totally understand being stressed out by showings. I work from home and can use quiet surroundings. Would it be possible to find out from the current tenant how much noise is there during the day? Like general road noise from neighbors, etc. Would you want me to send along the pre-qual info now? Email back: thank you for the response. It is a serene environment, which is one of the reasons why the current owner bought the property. It was just bought about 2 weeks ago. The current tenant already gave their 30-day notice, so the property will be available to move in on the 25th of September. There is an application fee of $35 as stated on the website. After payment is confirmed, we'll have the application form sent and the pre-qual info can be sent along with it. So the thing is, what website? As I mentioned, her footer little thingy is just an image. It doesn't link anywhere. So that's weird. Application fee isn't out of the norm here because it's on the renter to pay for like the credit check and the background check, and those cost money because this is truly the best country in the world. And also, yes, the property was bought 2 weeks prior to all of this. That information was available on Zillow. We could see how much it was bought for. We could see the selling realtor who was the one who owned the 3D tour, coincidentally. So that was a little weird. But, you know, I could find a way to make that work in my head where, like, you have a 3D tour that was just done for selling this property. Why not just spin it around and use it to rent it out? That makes sense. And also in this area, there's a lot of people who are just buying properties to rent out. So the owner may be upside down on their mortgage payments because they're having to rent it at a lower cost than what the mortgage payment is. But with the way taxes end up working out, it can actually be to their benefit. So if they're trying to bleed off some of what they owe to the IRS, a real estate property investment like this does make sense with the current system. Yay. So at this point, I loop in my husband to the email exchange because he had some questions about parking and other stuff. And also, he was out of town seeing his dad because bad things happen when he goes out of town. It's just a truism in my life. Cars break, we get kicked out of the place we're renting. It's just, it's part of my life, I guess. Anyways, so I asked the realtor also, I'm not seeing what website I should be using. So the realtor responds, this is not a problem. The rental website where you made the inquiry for the property, Craigslist. We currently use TurboTenant for the application process, but the site is down now. A rental application packet that will be sent to you shortly. The Craigslist post doesn't include any website of any form. How are we supposed to apply through Craigslist? This doesn't make sense. And also, while we were looking through the 3D tour, my husband noticed that the owner of the tour was the realtor who sold the house. Like, all of this is available to see on Zillow. That stuff matches up. Now, it is possible that the person I'm speaking to is representing the owner, the new owner who bought it and is flipping it into a rental property. That is possible. But TurboTenant is down. Come again? Because I checked the website itself. It's not down. I checked Down Detector to see if there was anything about it being down. It was not. So at this point, it's pretty clear that this person likely, like 95% chance, maybe even like 98, 99% chance, has nothing to do with actually renting out this property. But, let's see where this goes. Just for clarity, in case you haven't had to go through the sales process anytime recently, TurboTenant is a third-party website where people who are renting out a property can send people who want to rent the property to do the background check and submit all of the various bank pay stub document stuff and have it sort of safe in that way so that the landlord isn't in charge of keeping all of that information secure. So the TurboTenant website makes sense. It being down in this circumstance doesn't. So about 3 hours later, we get that application packet and it is everything I hoped for. I have enclosed a copy of the rental application packet in PDF as a first step in exploring the possibilities of considering you as a tenant for the property in San Jose. Please do carefully read through the document, print, fill out, scan, and send the rental application back to my email with the rental requirements. Each adult resident must fill out a separate rental application. What happens next? We'll review your application after a screening process has been completed. Thanks. So, a PDF application in and of itself is not the kiss of death for this process. The place that we are moving to also sent us a PDF to fill out. It was more of a pre-screener, and I'll highlight the important differences between what seems to be a more legit version. Hopefully, oh my God, if this goes sideways, and what is almost certainly a scam version. This application just makes me smile. It's so funny. It is so funny. It feels like the thing with scamming where they misspell things intentionally to try to weed out the people who would be less likely to fall for the scam so they don't have to waste their time. Anyway, so we have homeowner's rental application with the place for a passport photograph. I've never seen that before. That's weird. Applicant. Each applicant over the age of 18 must complete their own application form. That's normal. First, middle, last name, normal. Date of birth, normal. Social security, normal-ish. Usually not on a PDF that has an American flag background that just sort of randomly repeats throughout the document. So, driver's license number. Also something I've seen before, so not entirely uncommon. Other names used in the last 10 years. While that information does sometimes come up in the background check filling out, I've never seen it in the application like this. Home phone, cell phone, email address, those are normal. Who's going to be living with you? Who are they to you? Normal. Employment, current employment, all of that stuff. Normal, which is a nightmare to fill out if you're self-employed, by the way, something I found out this year. Residence, owner, manager, reasons for leaving, last rent paid, normal. Vehicles, normal. Personal references. I've never seen it formatted in this way. Yes, I am familiar with in case of emergency boxes. That's normal. Looking for a close friend or nearest relative living elsewhere? That's a new one. I am used to having to provide personal references for rentals. I usually refer Lily. My husband will do coworkers who he's friends with. This is normal, but nearest relative living elsewhere? In the context of this feeling more and more like a scam, part of me wonders if this would then turn into the thing of, oh my gosh, your son, daughter, spouse, wife, partner, sister, brother, cousin, whoever, was in a terrible accident and they're in the hospital and they need like $3,000 wired to be able to pay on, oh my God, they're on life support. You gotta. Credit info is where things like just turn into laughably obvious as a scam. So, for the application we submitted for the place that we succeeded in getting, we did have to provide banking info broadly. Like, how much do we have? What's our account situation, just broadly? And as I said, I'm self-employed. And so I wasn't able to submit pay stubs because those things don't exist for me, although it would be funny to make pay stubs for myself. Anyway, so I submitted redacted bank info for the banks where I get deposits from like YouTube and Patreon and PayPal. By the way, those are still active. Oh, and also Fourth Wall. So if you want to support me in the channel, like, ooh, this will be coming out soonish. And the mugs, Fourth Wall, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal. Links in description because anyway, so name of banker savings and loan. Branch or address. That's new. Account number. They want my checking and savings account numbers with the balances. Yeah, no, I'm totally willing to just give that to somebody who I've never even fucking met in a PDF. Red flag. But it gets better because they want my credit accounts. They want the account numbers and the balance and the due monthly. Like, credit account numbers with everything else I've given you? Honey, you overplayed your hand. And then we get into more normal. There's some weird ones, but more normal. Like, do you smoke? Do you have pets? Have you ever filed for bankruptcy? Those are normal questions. Musical instruments, water-filled furniture. You can sometimes see no felonies. Have you ever been evicted? Like, those are normal questions. And giving you time to say why. More in details. Duration of year willing to rent property. That is a new way to ask a question I've seen. Generally, it's more broad. Like, are you intending to be a long-term tenant or are you looking for like a year? Like, never seen duration of year willing to rent property. No. Total deposit. That's usually said in the ad. That's weird. First, last month rent with security deposit. First and last month rent with security deposit. Around here, that is like 10 grand. And they just want that. 6 months rent to own option. I'm totally sure that works in this housing market. Like, maybe like that could make more sense if you're talking like Midwest or dead cities that are just desperate to have people to buy property they're trying to offload. That makes more sense. But here, no. Nobody's doing 6 months rent to own on something that, no. Why are you leaving your current residence? Totally normal question. Applicant hereby applies to rent, lease, whatever property at whatever. That should have been filled in by the renter, not me. And then all the blah, blah, blah that you are asked to submit, normal-ish, blah, blah, blah on the bottom, and you sign it. All with the lovely repeating flag graphic on the pages. So just, this isn't a legit PDF. This isn't a legit application. This is like laughably bad. So at this point, we are done with the laptop because I stopped emailing her because it was very clearly a scam. And I Googled this person's name, and the person with this name is a realtor in Laguna Beach, not up here. And looking at the profile picture, like, yeah, it does match. Profile picture matches the name, but they're at a different realty company in a completely different part of California. Like, none of this is making sense. And also, interestingly, the person who has that name has a Twitter account where they're trying to give like realty tips or whatever. So I heard her voice. So the application was sent at like 11:40 in the morning. I didn't say anything. I didn't respond. The next day, I get a text message that only says, hello. Before I really have time to process this weird, ominous text message I got, I get a phone call phone call is from the person I've been speaking to through email, so this should be good. Do I have my phone case? Yeah. Sweet, I can do the TikTok thing. I can be a TikToker. Look at me go. She doesn't get a real phone. She's not a real person. Hi, is this Cass? We had been communicating through email, and I sent you the application, but I hadn't heard anything back. Were you planning on sending that in? No, actually, I don't think we will be sending those in. Sorry. Oh, how come? Why not? Also, I should mention right now that the voice I'm talking to doesn't match the Twitter voice at all. I know the phone can sound sometimes different than other things, but this was clearly a different person. And also because it is the year of our Lord 2022, and I am beyond out of fucks at this point. Like, this year has done me so fucking dirty. Like, if everybody I love makes it out alive, I'm going to be surprised. That's the level we're at. So, out of fucks, let's just see where this goes. I wasn't planning on submitting it because I'm not entirely convinced that this is actually a legit listing. Oh, what makes you say that? And she says this in a way where she's not surprised or like put off, but more like wanting to get the info. Well, not being able to see the property, for one, didn't sit right. And also the application packet I received didn't really seem professional. So she's completely just skipping over the major issue from the first thing to go to the second. Oh, well, I told you in email that Turbo Tenant was down, and so we were having to do it that way. Well, see, the thing is, I checked, and Turbo Tenant wasn't down when you told me that, and it's not down right now. Oh, well, I'll have an assistant look into that. And then I let us sit and bask in the awkward silence because I still want to see where this is going, but I don't want to have to, do anything. I just want to see where this is going. So, awkward silence continues. I can hear some noise in the background, like I'm trying to get a read on if this is like one of those abroad call center scams or if this is more home baked. It's feeling more home baked. It's not terribly loud. I'm not hearing a ton of people in the background, but there is a little bit of noise and wrestling. Anyways, eventually we come to a point where she says a couple things under her breath, which included fucking bitch, and then she hung up. So yeah, I think it's fairly safe to say that was a scam. That was a rental scam. It was one I hadn't seen before. It was one that was the very least looking to get the $70 application fee, possibly more if they're able to get the person to fill out the application, submit the information, pay last month's rent along with the security deposit on this property. It would get a person's everything you need to really spoof an ID, drain a bank account, the full works to just fuck somebody over royally. So, dear viewer, if you're finding yourself in a similar situation, well, hopefully not too similar, but are looking to rent a new place to live, here's some advice. Do not give them anything beyond just basic contact info, like email, phone number, whatever that you can provide through Zillow or whatever rental property website until you've seen the property. You have to be able to go into the property, tour it, get a sense that this is legitimately going to be rented out at some point, before giving them further info. There is nuance in this a little bit because if a property is empty, it's clear or it's easier to tell that they're intending to rent it out. That's easy. If there's currently a tenant there and their stuff is still there, it gets a little trickier to know if this is legitimately going to be rented out in the near future or if this is not a good situation. Do some due diligence on who you're going to be renting from and the property itself. Do they have an internet presence? Does it make sense for what they are claiming the property is going to be and what their role in this is going to be? Are there reviews? Just figure out what you can. So even in this process, there were a couple management companies that threw red flags for me, just tons and tons of reviews of people saying that this rental company takes, a week, if not more than a couple weeks to respond to any maintenance requests. The properties are in poor shape, blah, blah, blah. And then you also have the owners complaining about the property management company. Avoid bad things like that. Nothing good will come of that. Protect your info where you can. Like I mentioned, Adobe Acrobat has some redaction features, which is pretty amusing to play with because it is sort of like the government offices doing the black Sharpie and ha ha ha, that's my info, not your info. But if that isn't an option for you, and low-tech option is to print off whatever bank statement or whatever thing they want, sit there with the black Sharpie, sharp it out so that it's not readable, and then take a picture of it, scan it, whatever. So that way it's just an image and the text isn't grabbable from that somehow. Hopefully you're not signing the lease until you've seen the property, but once you've signed the lease, there's a little time window before you need to deliver them funds. They need to deliver the keys, and a handoff happens. And it should be a handoff, like you're literally holding your money hostage in exchange for access to that property. Like, do not give them the money before you have access to the property. We literally went to the place we're going to be renting and did a handoff with the realtor guy. Like, it's spy shit, but it makes sense. You don't want to give money without getting what you're supposed to get in return. That's when bad things happen. And as always, for these types of situations, listen to your instincts and your gut. If something doesn't seem right, don't just explain it away or ignore it. Like, keep those in mind, sort of like the different red flags that I was talking about in this process. I had reasonable explanations for them, but I didn't completely discount them. I had the time and energy to spend to see where this went on the off chance this could have been something where it was legitimately somebody who was bad with technology. And, but it just, too much evidence kept accumulating that this wasn't legitimate. So really trust yourself in this process. If something is too good to be true or doesn't seem right, it might be. Okay, so hopefully this was at least somewhat funny for how weird and obvious a rental scam can be. Should be back to normal recording in the near future. I keep saying that and shit keeps happening. So by the time this video is up, we should be in the new place, cleaning this place, and maybe 2022 will surprise us at the end. We'll see. I'm fully expecting the student loan thing to fall through because, oh my God, we need that money now. We need that money now because our rent is going up 20%. Anyway, yeah, we will be back with something next time. And yeah, until then, bye.